welcome to Colney Talk Podcast.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another episode of Colney Talk Podcast, a bite-sized show. I'm your host Alex, first-time guest, happy to have you here. And to my returning listeners, really glad you're joining me. On this bite-sized show, we'll talk a bit about the Arsenal game and then pick out my top 3 Arsenal players who I think were great in the game, and one player I consider the odd one, who just had a poor game or not good enough, who just needs to be called out. It has felt like ages since we talked Arsenal. Glad to be done with the international break. The game we have waited for a long time and to use as a serious measuring stick, at least for me. In a tense showdown at the Etihad Stadium, Arsenal came away with a result. A fair one, I'll call it that, defying expectations and marking Arsenal's first non-loss since 2016. I mean, the stats are all out there. I mean, talk about how much time it took for this team to get up to the level at which now we're expecting a win, a result like this going forward. I mean, the consistency of 7 losses at the Etihad Stadium that far back in 2016, that says a lot. I mean, it really tells us what it takes to rebuild a team to get to this level to compete with the best in the Premier League. I mean, that's quite a feat there. Despite our previous records, I sensed that Arsenal came into this game with more audacity to win. Build up the way we've been playing, the way we have set ourselves up, the confidence that we have so much in everything that we've done so far. I mean, even with the record that we have right now, we had enough on our backs to come in here and do something great. Both teams showcased defensive prowess, at least a lot more for Arsenal, resulting in a very fiercely contested encounter. City were just all over us, but we stepped up and we stood strong. No Martinelli starting. I mean, he was on the bench, so Jesus started in this place, and our bench really looked strong. Kivior starting in this game speaks volumes. Seeing how far he has come, and now quickly transforming himself as a steady, or left back rather, you know, it says a lot, and kudos to him for doing that and gaining that trust. I mean, a lot of the players will see and look at him as an example, just like we've seen Tomiyasu do the same. But, you know, for Kivior, who has not played that many games as Tomiyasu has, I mean, that's quite a good, shout out to him. Before this game started, or leading up to this game, I expected an all-out attacking matchup or a tactical chess match, and that was the latter. Arsenal were comfortably playing out of possession and playing mostly in our half. We've been excellent in displaying our standards, the way that we stay disciplined, playing out of possession, and just staying in very tight formations. I saw a lot of discipline from Arsenal, locking down any open lanes for City to get in. Still, we were pinned back in our half, squeezed in really tight. We just didn't get as much breathing room. I think this team prepared for that. I think this team expected a lot of suffering. I think this Arsenal team knew in some level, be it first 30 minutes, first 35 minutes, even though they may have some chance to break away or something, there was going to be an intense pressure clamped on them in their half in the way that we saw this game play out, and they really, played very well to it. And with that, the first close chance from City was from a corner, and it was sort of a soft header that just landed right in front of Raya, who was in the right place at the time to stop the ball from going forward and just grabbed it away from any more danger. And there was quite a bit of luck there as well, if you ask me. City dictated the game, but were very ineffective in where they wanted to get to and how to get through that, especially from the wings. A different kind of game for Arsenal this. They defended in every set of the game, in every phases, in every lanes, and every chances. That's to be expected. Everyone behind the ball with the best low block that I've seen all season to play their game and manage every situation. It wasn't so much about low block defending and then transition to like a quick counter attack. It wasn't so many of that. At least when Arsenal tried to do that, they were not successful trying to get away from their half a couple of times. A couple of counter attacks, where just a few seconds for Arsenal before losing possession again, resetting themselves back in their low block formation to defend. You're going to hear me say that a lot in this game. It was a cagey match, nothing shiny, all-out attacking performance or exhibition. None of that. We were in tight spots to get out from the ball. Whenever we lost the ball while we were in our half, it felt like nightmare in defending, nightmare in the pressure that City has put us in. But these boys trained for it. These boys were ready for it. But watching the game, it's just so much of that discomfort that something could happen, and then we have to now fight back, getting the chance. But I love the tenacity for Arsenal centre backs. Big Gabby, Kivio, and Saliba were not playing timid at all. They were playing for a game that they had a lot of confidence, that they knew the players up front could do something. Jesus was the forward man for Arsenal in the first half with a few shot attempts, and those were the only attempts that we had. Be that as it may, that was at least some showing of what we could try to do in all our defending throughout the first half. We failed to capitalize on a crucial moment from an opening where there was a bad pass that Odegaard was the first to pick up the ball, and the pass to Jesus was quickly muted when he was unable to let off a shot sooner with a couple touches too soon, as we know him to have in him, just close out that chance. Big Gabby, as I mentioned, was feasting over defending Erling Haaland. I mean, he was on him, bully ball all day in this game, and he was having fun. It's really interesting to see defenders defending and playing their game, but you can see the joy they have in this physical duels they had. And we've seen that in the first matchup that we had when they came to the Emirates Stadium. In this game, Big Gabby was just cheesy. He was just all cheesing all through. Whenever the ball came in any close inches with him and Erling Haaland, that was crazy. But at least the bright side of enjoying this game, as much as City played with the ball in our half, there was no intensity to their game. Call it tactics, call it style, call it whatever it may be. They dictated everything, but Arsenal were able to still maintain that same flow with them. Credit to Arsenal for causing that as well, because not much shots from City, minimal dribbling to get through anywhere that made any much impact. A lot of the shots were blocked. They weren't direct tested shots for rebound ball to Raya to maybe get like a tap in or something. Neither team were fully committed, so a lot of defending from Arsenal and some very cautious attack from City in this game. As I said, a cagey match, and so that was it for the first half. Second half, City showed their first play with a shot to test Raya, but a wide off on the post. And for Arsenal, Jesus couldn't connect to a would-be goal that opened up from a drive that Saka had right into the box, which only if he connected. In another scenario, he would have done that and would have been one up. The game got a bit more aggressive in this half, with Arsenal provoking more off the ball and trying to pressure them, get them, to gain some mistakes. We tried to retain the ball in their half as they try to build up, but we weren't as successful, and we got ourselves running back and staying comfortable in our half again, defending as we did. And Arsenal in certain parts of the pitch were not able to do that as much. They threw their bodies at shots in different situations, and City in the same fashion controlled the tempo, had most of the ball, not allowing Arsenal to play with the ball going forward, and this was a whole lot more suffering to do. And then going through that, our first sub party comes in for Jorginho and Tommy in for Kivio. But this had been so much of a long defending that Arsenal had done to this point. Arsenal hadn't done anything in the second half meaningful. We were defending, as I said. We were forced to play congested football, defending in our thirds and within our box, rightfully so. A lot of Arsenal action were doing that proactively trying to press to gain the ball away, but not so much effective with that. So at least the least they could do was continue to defend successfully and come away with a chance in going forward, which a few times that happened. And this was where we had a big shout out to Odegaard pressing, making that happen in so many situations, but not enough to connect with Rice whenever they got to, interrupt or intercept the ball. Our first corner in the second half was around the 72nd minute. Nothing came out of it. Ball was cleared away. We got back into our defending posture again. And at this time, it got a little bit more uncomfortable for me seeing how Arsenal were trying to get the ball out of their box. We were defending in our half, in our final thirds. Now we're doing that in our box. A few times we just couldn't clear it out. Saka was on the ball trying to run away with it, and then from the left side, from the blind side, the ball gets nicked from him, and then there's an attempt to cross in for like a pullback, and that was some worry there. Man City's blitz at this time looked like this was a prime situation for them to score and then stay on the lead and defend it. They kept on the pressure, and Arsenal were really aware of this, defended just as well, and put everything they had to successfully, absorb that pressure, because it just felt like it cranked up just a little bit more. 80 minutes in the game, the same situation Arsenal had been all game long, behind the ball, defending another corner, defending some shots, keeping Haaland clean and away from dangerous situations, and cutting off lanes for Kevin De Bruyne, and making the wingers play really hard in any chance that they're trying to create, especially the wingers. And we cut off their lanes, defended so much of the situations, and that's what you could admire for Arsenal in this game. Boring as it may sound, that's the action that we got. And then Arsenal's best moment was at the 85th minute. Odegaard finding Trossard to drive into the box to shoot, but didn't have the best angle. But hey, that's one of the first things that we saw out of it. The rest of the game was City trying to thread a pass or two for Haaland's header, or shot across in some situations where it would be like a lucky bounce for him to fire a shot, but none of that happened. We were congested in our box, and we were really reactive to get away from it, to clear out any danger as quickly as possible. In doing that, Arsenal gave away nothing. And that was it. That's how the game ended. 0-0 draw. Full 90 minutes defended by Arsenal, rewarded by a deserved point from this game, at least I thought. Minimal mistakes and a lot to be proud of from this team. I'm happy to take this point, although I know Arsenal came to play without fear, but it would be unwise to think Arsenal didn't play their style of the game, because this was the style of the game as it was dictated. They adapted to what was presented to them by City, and they tried to make something out of it. Not the best of attacking offering that they had going forward. The chances they had, few as it may be, were meaningful, but not enough. A few chances, yes. Not as much in the end to get a good result, but at least they did enough to make sure that they didn't lose the game. So that's the way I can put that in perspective, understanding, looking out after the game. I did not come in hoping for a draw. It was for a win, but I would settle for a draw, and that's where we are. So if we lost, it would have been a different conversation, but glad that's not what I'm having right now. All right, let me talk about my top three players. First player, Big Gabby. Impressed with his resolute defense, particularly against Ireland, as I mentioned. Thwarting any free runs from him with impeccable physicality. He was just eating that up. He excelled in defensive duels, relishing the physical battles, and that contributed significantly to Arsenal's resilient play all through that back line, keeping that shape tight, making sure the rest of the players fed into what intense defensive intensity they were putting out there. I was hoping the few corner kicks from our set piece, successes that we've had would help in our attacking threat somehow. But that didn't happen, but I enjoyed Big Gabby's game. Second player, Saliba. He grew into the game, displaying solid performances. tag teaming with Big Gabby very well. He adapted well into the way City's pressure were coming to him while he was shutting out Harlan alongside Big Gabby, as I said. And he was clean. He was very active just as well. Both contributions from the big guys gave Arsenal a good chance to come away with a good result. That's really huge. And the Etihad, as we've said for a long time, it was a different kind of game that these center backs played. Not so much of caution. Yes, it was present, but with a whole lot more confidence going forward. Confidence in their game, the same way they played at home, playing away and doing just as well. Third and final player, Ben White. He was our best outlet offensively for Arsenal. The first few shot attempts we had in the first half all started with the channels that Ben White had opened up and made things happen for us. He was really the bright spark there. The few chances that we also had in some situations within that middle of the park came with some runs that Ben White made as well. So he was really smart and, light on his feet in some of those runs. And I did admire that. He was amazing. And defensively, as we know, he was solid, played really well. He played with a lot of toughness like the rest of the team. But mainly, I think he kept that left side quiet without having so much of a problem because most of the things were shifted towards Kivier's side, who got enough help. Credit to the team entirely as they did collective defending. While I don't see anyone who I think warrants the odd one for this game, I wish Jesus did a bit more in the game, being sharper, very reactive in executing, and dribbled less in the box. We're talking about City here. Your chances are like half a second compared to other teams, but that's it. I mean, he played an okay game. I knew he could do more. He has it in his locker, but that's all I can mention, but nothing after that. So I'll leave it there. Not an easy game, but a lot to be proud of from this team. More positives than disappointments. I'll say it that way. A lot more to learn from this game and for the team to take into the next game, which is another tough one. At least a good learning pad for them. And with that, I'll finish it off here, folks. Talk to you all real soon. Take care.